a lot of construction going on in the beach area. I probably had 12 or 14 brand new houses, and I couldn't tell you how many renovations I got. First floor, top of the deck has to be at 11 feet. All this has to be verified through the process building. They probably have surveyors come in 3 or 4 times at least. The zones can change from house to house depending where they are, depending what's out here.
Okay, so you might be in a different zone.
Could be in a different zone. The setbacks here are 6 feet on either side. We have setbacks as far as 25 feet in town, depending on where you are.
Flood zones. Work with your local code enforcement officer to determine if your property is in a flood zone. Houses needing to be brought up to code need to be elevated at least 1 foot above base flood elevation.
I have some houses that are actually built in an odd shape. They're not even square, or they're built, and you look at them and go, wow, why'd they do that? They did it to fit it on the lot, because the lot was so small. And a lot of these are what we call non-conforming legal lots of record. They were a legal lot when they were created. They wouldn't meet the criteria today, but we have to let them build on it. Some of these lots are extremely small, and they can just barely put a house on it. Actually, what we do is we require, before they pour anything, I have to come down with a survey, and they survey and actually pin the location where everything is. And then after it's put in, they pin it again before they pour the footings, and then they pin it again after they pour. The survey sets a pin in the ground saying this meets the setbacks for where the location of this house is on all the corners. Because they're so small, you can be an inch off and be in trouble.
New construction and reconstruction. Work with your local code enforcement officer and engineers using FEMA's coastal construction techniques when building a new home. Reconstruction, or substantial improvements that cost more than 50% of the house's value, must also meet the latest flood protection requirements.
In non-hazardous zones, and what they are hydraulic openings in a foundation. It can't be a basement. It can only be used in a hydraulic opening, can only be used in a flow-through. So if it meets the definition of a basement, you can't use it. The basement would have to be filled up to a certain level, and then we'd put the flow-throughs in. And some of them just leave these openings wide open, and it's determined by 1 inch per square foot of the size of the foundation, and they need a minimum of 2 openings. The other thing you're going to see is a lot of people, when they put these piers up, they will enclose them with lattice work or slats. There's a criteria for that also. If they use a 2-inch piece of slat, they have to have a 4-inch opening between. And that's the formula. So, and you can't have it, and they have to have a 4-inch square opening, and they need lattice work. That's so that water hits it, it's still going to get that water through. It's not going to damage the house. Some people use what we call they're water-sensitive openings. They won't even see the openings. As soon as water hits them, they open, and then they close again. They're about $400 a piece. A lot of people don't like the fact that animals and everything can run underneath their house and everything like that, so they go to the hydraulic openings that are water-sensitive. They're a little bit more expensive. But why don't we take a walk down?
How deep are those?
Those go down probably at least, they're down probably about 6 feet, and they're sitting on a big footing, a reinforced footing, and then they're tied up through with number 5s, and some of them number 6 rebar.
Foundations on elevated structures. Consult your local code enforcement officer to determine whether a flow-through foundation or elevating on piers is more appropriate for your property. Always consult with your local code enforcement officer before you begin any work.